Okay, we're in the Taylor Swift sweatshirt because we're doing a Taylor Swift video. We're not doing 1989. We're doing Lover. We're doing book recommendations for Lover. The album from Taylor Swift herself. Hi, my name is Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be recommending you a book for every single song on the Lover album. I've done this once before with Folklore, so I'm excited to do it again with Lover. If you want these a little bit more regularly, I do post a book recommendation for a Taylor Swift song almost every day over on TikTok. And that is what we're doing until we're getting through all of them. On TikTok, I've already finished Folklore and Lover, but I've also done Red and most of Fearless. I'm finishing up Fearless right now, so the link will be below if you're a TikToker. If not, you can just wait. I will probably post all of the albums on YouTube eventually. I love Lover. Lover was very much like my vibe. I was excited when we got it. What a treat. Loved the pink cotton candy cloud vibes of Lover. Like, who wouldn't? Loved the glitter. Loved the sparkle. What a great time. It is kind of like a mixed bag of an album for me. There's some songs I love, some songs I'm a little less inclined on, but I don't think I have like the same opinions as everyone else. I like some of the bops that I feel like are a little underloved. And I also feel like Lover didn't fully get its day in the sun because of Folklore. And like, as much as I am grateful for Folklore with all of my little heart, Folklore is my favorite Taylor album. It is my favorite album of all time. I kind of wish Lover had more of a moment, but like, we'll take what we can get. And we're gonna bring back the Lover vibes now. I was gonna do a glitter heart, but I have more things to do today. I do need to leave the house after this, and that seemed like something I didn't truly really want to get off of my face. Okay, first up we have I Forgot That You Existed, which is a bop. This bop is criminally underrated. I love it. I think people do forget that it existed, and it's a bop. My recommendation for this one is Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. I think it has that, like, because I think I Forgot That You Existed is a little bit of like a dig, right? Like, it's a little bit vengeful, a little bit petty. And I think Twice in a Blue Moon has that like a little bit of a petty undercurrent. It is about it's like a second chance romance. And it is about these two people. They met for the first time when they were in London. And the girl is like the daughter of like a famous movie star, but it's a secret. No one knows that he has a daughter and that she's his daughter. But she confesses this to the boy as they share the summer in London. And he tells everyone. And so she never speaks to him again, but then years down the line, they're on a movie set working together, and she has to like move on, you know? It's a good time. I've also, in the comments of my TikToks, someone was like Addie LaRue, which like, a little bit on the nose, but like, and does the vibes match? No, not at all. But that is like the premise of Addie LaRue, is I Forgot That You Existed. So another recommendation. Next up we have Cruel Summer, which is such a bop. Such a bop. Lover has so many good songs on it. Cruel Summer is like a screaming in the car song, and I wanted a song that really like encapsulates the toxicity of Cruel Summer. I see Cruel Summer as like an incredibly toxic relationship, and I think the most toxic relationship that I've ever seen in a book is Tell Me Lies. Tell Me Lies by Carola Levering. This is like it's sometimes categorized as a romance. That is false. This is not a romance. It's sometimes categorized as a thriller. Also not a thriller. It's like a contemporary novel about this. I'll just tell you what it is. I won't try to categorize it. But it's about this girl who meets this guy when she's in college, and she is like enamored with him. But he kind of treats her like garbage, and they're very on again, off again. And we get her perspective. We also get his perspective. So we know that he's a garbage human. He is turning off the big light. If you're on TikTok, you know what that means. But this book is excellent. It is like such a good example of like a toxic relationship. You just want to be like, Lucia, stop. Do not let that man pull you around one more time. But she does. It also has like a New York City era in it. This book covers like many, many years. And that is also Cruel Summer vibes. It just like really matches the vibe. Also the cover is like such a Lover vibe. Or the next song is Lover, which was one of the singles. This is one of my top favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. I think it is beautiful. It is such a beautiful love song, and I like have such a hard time picking a book for this, so I'm giving this as a book recommendation. I'm gonna give it again as a later book recommendation too, so prepare yourself. But I can't not recommend Beach Read. And I had a different recommendation initially for this one. On my TikToks, I did like a bunch of romance tracks. But I can't not recommend Beach Read because I saw a TikTok. You're gonna get tired of me talking about TikTok, but here we are. Actually, I'll see if I can put the TikTok up. But she says, we can leave the Christmas lights up till, this is January speaking. We can leave the Christmas lights up till, and then Gus cuts her off and says, January, this is our place. We make the rules. And there's not a single day that goes by that I don't think about that TikTok. Anyway, I'm trying to play it like very cool, very calm, very collected. So I'm going to recommend Beach Read for Lover. But it will be coming back because I actually like picked a song specifically for Beach Read before I saw that TikTok. And so Beach Read has another song too. But I think Lover is like applicable to almost any romance. Like, it is. It's such a good song. Next up we have The Man, which was another single off of Lover. This one got a cute little music video for where Taylor played a man, which was a fun time. But my recommendation for this is The Whisper Network by Chandler Bailey. This is not by Chandler Bailey, by Chandler Baker. This is again another novel that I think improperly gets called a thriller often, and it's really not very thrilling. There is a mystery component, but it is not a thriller. It is about this, I believe, the law firm. And it's about kind of the women in this law firm. And, you know, it's not great to be a woman in this law firm. There's like a lot of like not great sexual harassment and like, you know, just like casual misogyny happening in the law firm. And then one of the like top executives that is kind of gross gets pushed off of the roof, and they're trying to figure out like who committed this cute little crime, and they suspect like several of the girls in the office because he was mean to all of them. And so it is about the Whisper Network, about this like idea of women protecting women by telling each other the creepers, you know. And so it's about like female friendship in this law firm and also a cute little murder mystery. For track 5, we have The Archer, and I feel like The Archer is very much about anxiety, but like especially about anxiety caused by being like in the public spotlight. And so I had to recommend my girl Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's gonna be in every single video because I love Taylor Jenkins Reid so much, and she reminds me of Taylor Swift in this like weird brain overlap. I don't know, maybe because both their names are Taylor. But I'm going to recommend Daisy Jones. And the 6th, I feel like Daisy Jones deals similarly with kind of like the anxiety and like the crushing weight of being watched by the world in like a different way. But I feel like there's a lot of overlap between The Archer and Daisy Jones in the 6th. Like both Daisy Jones has been the Archer and she's also been the prey. You know? I think she would get it. Next up we have I Think He Knows. This is a song that is like one of the sexier songs I think on Lover and just kind of for Taylor in general. And I had to pick a book recommendation that is like a little bit spicy. This is like one of my spiciest recommendations. It is a little bit wild, but I like love this series so much. It's a Kindle Unlimited romance series that follows a set of 3 billionaire brothers, and I love all of them so much. The first one is A Stopover. My favorite is the 3rd, The Casanova. Casanova got 5 stars from me, which like almost never happens for a Kindle Unlimited romance, despite the fact I love them. There's often too many like flaws in the way that they're written for me to like give them a full 5 stars. But the Casanova just like swept me away. I like love these. I love a billionaire romance, and these ones are like top tier. They are very spicy, but they're a good time. And I think he knows. His hand around a cold glass make me want to know that body like he's mine. You know? You know. Okay, next up we have Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, and this song very much gives me like YA dystopian vibes. You know? Like it gives me Divergent vibes. And so I had to recommend one of the YA dystopians I've read most recently, and that is Thousandth Floor by Catherine McGee. Essentially what has happened is most of New York now lives in this one building that is 1,000 floors tall, and like the richer you are, the higher you live in this building, and like the floors are like pretty giant, and so it is about like the 1,000th floor. And it's about these teens that are like living in this building, and about like, you know, economic disparity and those sorts of things. You know, the things that YA dystopians are typically about. It's a good time. Next book is Paper Rings. And my recommendation for this is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I love this book and I think it really fits this song perfectly. It is about Piper and Brendan. Piper is this like heiress, you know, think Paris Hilton, a little bit of an airhead, and she is sent to this small fishing town where her biological dad like lived and died. He died when she was like super young. She didn't really know much about him or like remember him. And so it's about her. She gets sent to this town with her sister, her younger sister, and they have to like get a job and like, you know, like learn how to take care of themselves because they've made some irresponsible choices. And so they decide to renovate the bar that their father owned. And while that happens, Piper falls for a widowed fisherman who's like very gruff, but he really loves to like spoil her. Like she is spoiled and he loves spoiling her, which is like a duo that we love. And it gives me Paper Rings vibes because it is like very like cheerful and upbeat, and also like Piper loves shiny things, but she would marry Brendan with paper rings. Like, I know she would. Next up is Cornelia Street, and my book recommendation for this one is Hello Girls by Emily Henry and Brittany Cavallaro. I have like an unpopular opinion about this, but I like truly adore this book. I read this because last year I tried to read, or I did read, everything that Emily Henry had out at the time, and so I read this collaboration she did with Brittany Cavallaro. It is the story of it's a YA contemporary about these two girls who are running away from home. They're like 17. They're both running away from home. They have terrible home lives and they're best friends and they're running away, but like since they're 17 they don't have a lot of fun, so they have to commit some crimes. And it made me cry, it made me laugh. It is such a beautiful story, and although Cornelia Street is very much about like a romance, it feels to me that Hello Girls is about this, I almost want to call it like a romance friendship. Not that they like have a romance, but that it like looks at their friendship like it were a romance. Like it treats that relationship as central to the plot in a way that I don't see done that often. And I think it's such a beautiful exploration of like especially like teen girl friendship, because I think there is something like really special and magical, at least in my experience, about like friendships between teenage girls. And I think there is a sense that like if they ever lost each other, they would never be able to like walk through a lot of those memories that they shared together without like breaking down. They'd never walk Cornelia Street again. Next up is Death by a Thousand Cuts, which I think probably has like the most iconic bridge on Lover. It's iconic. It's iconic. But my recommendation for this one is The Pisces by Melissa Broder. This book is weird. Okay, it is bizarre. It is about this girl who goes through like a pretty bad breakup. She is working on her doctoral thesis and is like not actually working on it anymore because she's like recovering from this breakup. She like doesn't know what she's doing, and she winds up staying like house sitting for her sister on this beach house in Venice in California. And while she's house sitting, she comes across like a merman, and they start to have like a little like affair. It is really about her just like floundering post a breakup and like not knowing what to do with her life and just feeling very like consumed with the weight of like not being in this relationship anymore. And I feel like it gives Death by a Thousand Cuts vibes. It's also like I like cannot emphasize to you enough, this book is incredibly bizarre, kind of gross, and by kind of I mean like there are some parts that are pretty gross and like weird, but like good. Like I don't want to discourage you from reading it. I just want you to know that it's like truly bizarre. Okay. We got that out of the way. Next we have London Boy. And London Boy gets hated. I feel like London Boy gets hate, and that is unfair to London Boy. London Boy is a bop of a song. I love listening to London Boy when I'm like at the gym, in the car, having a good time. Listening to Idris Elba being like, I was riding on my scooter. Like, I'm sorry, that's brilliant and not a great time. But I had to pick a recommendation for London Boy that gives me an American doing brand vibes. Like, She's the Man, the movie, but in book form. This book is not that, but it is a good time and is two Americans writing about British things. And that is The Royal We by Heather Cox and Jessica Morgan. This book is the story of an American girl who, when she studies abroad in Oxford, falls in love with the Prince of England, and it follows their story over the course of years. It is like essentially Kate Middleton and William, like fan fiction revisionist history. It's not like super closely tied to Kate and Will, but it feels like it could be. And this gave me like a way different perspective on like being a royal, but it also feels like a glimpse into like what it is to be royal, even though like it's 100% fiction. But it was like delightful, like such a good read. I love the second one even more. There's a second one called The Air Affair, and it is delightful. I love this series. So good. So like quintessentially Americans doing Britain. The next book, or the next song is So You'll Get Better. This song makes me sob. Hello. And so I had to pick a book that also made me sob. This book made me ugly cry. I can't go too into detail about why these books are similar because I think it is a little bit of a spoiler. But just know, this book made me like cry so hard I had to get out of, I was like reading it in bed and I had to like get up out of bed and like walk around a little bit because like laying down I couldn't breathe. And that's In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley. I love Rebecca Surley's books. She does these like lightly surrealist, speculative I think is actually the right. She does these like lightly speculative books that make me cry every single time. I love her adult works. In 5 Years is gorgeous. Next up we have False God, which I think is another like sexy song. It has a saxophone in it. It's not my favorite off the album, but like it is kind of groovy. It's kind of groovy. My recommendation for this is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Again, this book is very spicy, but also it's written a little bit like a Meg Cabot book. Like the writing feels like very YA until you get to like them being very naked and participating in adult activities. But it is a Hades and Persephone retelling. It is in this like modern version of like ancient Greece where the like Greek gods live in like a modern world. The world building is kind of strange, but it's a good time. And it is about Hades and Persephone. What else do you need to know? It has False God vibes. Okay. Next up is You Need to Calm Down, which again I think gets hated on a little bit too much, but I think one of the reasons it gets hated on is You Need to Calm Down gives me like such strong millennial vibes. Like it gives me such strong like chuggy millennial vibes. And so I had to pick a book that also gives me such strong chuggy millennial vibes, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I love both of these things, but they do like read a little cheesy. Okay, so like You Need to Calm Down is Taylor's like song to support the LGBTQ community, and it is about like don't hate on people, and she like did the music video with like the Queer Eye guys and like a bunch of like gay celebrities. And Red, White, and Royal Blue is the story about the Prince of England falling in love with the son of the president, and they like it's scandalous because they're both men and they're like also like important world leaders, children. They give me the same vibe. Okay, I just like can't fully explain it. Just like the vibes are the same. Okay, the vibes are the same. And next up we have Afterglow, and my recommendation for this one is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I love the Brown Sisters trilogy. I've probably recommended it more than once. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is the first one in the series. It is about Chloe Brown, who is the middle sister, and she has some sort of chronic illness that makes her deal with like a lot of like chronic pain, and so she doesn't like do a lot. She like feels like she's living a life that is like kind of boring, and she's like not checking a lot of items off her to-do list. So she decides to make like a new like fun's to-do list, and she enlists the help of her building's super Red to go through this checklist, and then they like fall in love. And I think there's like a lot of like really good like reassurance, and both Red and Chloe are like such great characters. Chloe Brown writes such excellent like cinnamon roll men, and Red is like top tier. He's top tier. She writes good. Talia Hibbert writes good men. Okay, I have two suggestions for Me. Me is another one that is hated. I think maybe like rightly so. Me is not my favorite. I just also don't think I was the audience. Like I think Me was written for a younger audience than I. I think Me is like heavy on the messaging, less heavy on like the music, which is fine. And I'm gonna recommend a book that I feel like had a similar kind of reaction from people. Like some people like truly loved it, but it is like a very heavy-handed message, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is a story of this woman who dies and ends up in this library between life and death, where she can go and see what her life would have been like if she had made like slightly different choices. So it has a library of every different outcome her life could have had, very like the multiverse. And so it is about her like exploring all these different outcomes of her life, and like the ultimate story is like live your life, live your truth. Life is beautiful. I don't know. It made me cry because I'm an easy crier, but it definitely is a book that is like a little bit cheesy. So if you're not into a cheesy vibe, I don't think that's it. My other suggestion is a cheeky one, but it is my favorite suggestion I've ever made in any of these videos, and that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. The probable premise of Me is that they're there'll never be another one like you. And Dark Matter is saying there might be, and that would be a problem. Because Dark Matter is about this guy. It opens with this man, like on page like 3, this man being kidnapped by someone who looks identical to him. Like identical to him, and things spiral from there. It is so good, edge of your seat reading experience, but definitely tells you why it's important that there only be one you. Next up is It's Nice to Have a Friend, and my recommendation for It's Nice to Have a Friend is my favorite childhood friends to lovers book, second chance romance, whatever you want to call it, and that is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book is excellent. It is top tier. I love this book the most. A lot of people compare it to Every Summer After. I think that's a bad comparison. We don't need to get into it, but like this one gives me It's Nice to Have a Friend vibes. It is about these 2 kids growing up. They have like a weekend house. He lives there full time, but she has a weekend house that is right next door to him. They like meet as teenagers, they fall in love as teens, and then something happens when she's a senior, when they're both seniors in high school, and they like completely lose touch. And then years down the line, they meet up again, and she's in a new relationship, he's in a new relationship, but like there's still chemistry there, and like will they be able to make it work after all these years? And it's told like back and forth between the 2 timelines, and we don't know what happened to separate them the first time, and so we're trying to unpack that. And it made me cry so hard, but it is so good. It is, it's the best Christina Lauren book I've read. I think it's the best one they've written. It's so brilliant. It's a delight. Love it. And then last on the list, Last-a-Roo. That's Daylight. I love Daylight. Daylight is probably my second favorite song off of Lover. Lover, the single, is my favorite because it is so good, but Daylight is also like beautiful and brilliant, and I love the like spoken word outro. But I wanted to pick a song that kind of emphasized the message of Daylight, which for me is like this like person that feels like exhaling after you've been holding your breath. And I think Book Lovers by Emily Henry is like one of those books. I love Emily Henry, but I feel like Nora really sees herself, Nora is the heroine in Book Lovers, she really sees herself as a villain. In her relationship with Charlie, she's like able to kind of be like, and like he feels like Daylight. There's even a quote in there somewhere where she talks about like she's like a sunflower and Charlie is like the sun, and she would be straining towards him even if there was like a wildfire. It's so good, but it definitely gives me like Daylight vibes. Like I don't want to look at anything else now that I saw you. I don't want to think of anything else now that I thought of you. Been sleeping so long for a 20-year dark night, but now I see daylight. It is like so hopeful, so good. Emily Henry can do no wrong. That is my book recommendations for every song off of Lover. I believe Red will probably be next, and that'll probably be coming out sometime in September. Maybe I'll wait till October for Red season. I feel like Red season is truly October. But we'll see. We'll see what the haps are. And I will go through all of Taylor's discography. So if you're interested in hearing more about my thoughts on Taylor Swift and book recommendations based on her songs, subscribe. If you want some other book content, subscribe. If you want to know more about my book that's coming out next year, me too. But you can also subscribe. Let me know if you have questions down below, or if you have any songs off of Lover that give you like specific book vibes. Like if you think of a book specifically when you hear a Taylor Swift song. You know what? Any Taylor Swift song. I am happy to hear about it. I will talk to you in the next video. Have a great one. Bye.